And you're from a bookstore, right?
Yes.
Beautiful. Yay for bookstores.
Yes.
They're very important, you know.
Yeah, it's kind of the last in Montreal. It's the oldest and kind of the last, except the chains, Chapters. And
Yeah,
apart from them,
we have to keep bookstores open.
I know. So I'm going to ask you like 4 main questions.
Whatever you like. If you think of other questions, ask away. I just have to be on stage in 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's going to be okay.
Okay.
So the first one is about reality. Okay?
Madame Virtue, vous êtes vous-même docteur en psychologie et pour la psychologie, toute la réalité intérieure de ce qu'on vit est une projection de l'esprit, de nos besoins conscients ou inconscients. Alors finalement, est-ce que le monde angélique, les archanges dont vous parlez, les personnes décédées, ce n'est pas finalement simplement la projection inconsciente de nos besoins? Et finalement, comment être certain que les expériences que l'on peut avoir avec les anges ou avec les personnes décédées ne sont pas seulement des projections de notre esprit? Comment savoir ce qui est réel?
I was wondering, how do you feel about that, and how can you explain to people how you can both understand and agree with psychological concepts and realities of the function of the human mind and other realities who are really real, I mean.
Okay. So, yes, my educational background is I have a bachelor's, master's, and PhD in psychology, and I was a clinical psychotherapist for many years. And to get my degrees, I had to pass mental health tests to say that I was sane, or I wouldn't have gotten my degrees from my universities. And so a lot of people are skeptical about angels and fairies and such, and I understand that. I actually respect skeptics, because to me they just haven't had the experiences that I and thousands, probably millions of people have had, where they've had an unexplained intervention that saved their lives. That's how it all happened for me. And until you have that happen, it's all theory. But when you get a feeling that causes you to change the way you're driving and you avoid an accident, or you hear a voice that tells you to do something and it saves your life, it changes you. And those of us who believe in angels, we're not trying to convince anyone or convert anyone to say that, hey, this is real. We're simply offering this up. And what I tell skeptics is to be like a good scientist. Now, good scientists will always experiment with the hypothesis to see if it's true or false. They do not reject it until they experiment with it. So anyone who is skeptical really owes it to themselves to try working with angels, and what they'll find is this is very real, and that from my perspective in research, every single human has guardian angels with them. It has nothing to do with religion, it's physiology. Just like every human has a brain and lungs and a heart, every human has got angels with them at all times.
Okay. About freedom now. Ma deuxième question porte sur la liberté. Nous, les humains, nous sommes des créatures libres, ou en tout cas, nous aimons être libres. Mais dans ce principe de liberté, il y a aussi la possibilité de se tromper, de faire de mauvais choix et évidemment de faire du mal à des personnes qui nous entourent ou même à la planète, comme on le voit aujourd'hui. Je me dis que les anges veulent sûrement qu'on fasse ce qui est bien, c'est-à-dire qu'on obéisse à des lois d'amour et d'harmonie qui régissent l'univers, mais en même temps, ils doivent nous accompagner sur un chemin d'apprentissage qui passe par l'erreur. Comment finalement les anges gèrent cette contradiction en s'occupant des humains?
Hurting others, hurting the planet, and at the same time lead us on this way of learning through mistakes, you know?
Yep, got it. Okay. So, yeah, we were all created with free will, and the Creator and the angels respect our free will and will not intervene unless we ask. But what they've taught me is that free will that you have is like a circle, and other people's free will is like a circle. And so if someone else's free will choice affects you, there's an overlap there. So let's just say that you have the free will choice to be in a smoke-free environment, and someone else has the free will choice to smoke cigarettes. But if they smoke cigarettes at your house, they've violated your free will. So to the degree that someone else's free will choice affects you negatively, the angels will intervene. So the angels are not passive. They've told me that being peaceful and passive are two different things. They want us to speak up and to have our rights met and they want us to have boundaries, and they want us to say no enough to those who are ruining this world's environment. The angels say that there's a small group of what they call the selfish ones. These are people who are making a lot of money from world banking and oil and media and weapons, and they said that their free will choice is affecting all of us. So they want us to send light and love to open the hearts of the selfish ones so that they can have compassion for all of us. And to really be honest about what we are upset about instead of passively suffering.
About 2012, that's a big issue.
Yes.
Ma troisième question porte sur 2012. Vous avez dit dans une vidéo que vous avez postée sur Internet récemment que 2012 n'était qu'une année comme les autres, alors que beaucoup de guides spirituels, de leaders spirituels mondiaux, et bien sûr le calendrier Maya parlent de 2012 comme d'une année différente, particulière, et tout le monde peut sentir qu'il y a des grands bouleversements, qu'il y a des grands changements qui se passent en ce moment. Est-ce que vous pourriez nous en dire un petit peu plus sur ce que vous entendez par 2012 n'est qu'une année comme les autres?
So I would like you to get more into that.
Well, when I visited the Mayan country and spent time with 2 Mayan shamans, they showed me the hieroglyphics related to the Mayan calendar. And it did end with a major Venus return, much like we recently experienced here in 2012. And when that Mayan and Venus return occurred, there was a huge energy shift for everyone. And people have been irritable ever since. And what the angels have told me is it's now shifted to this new energy where only truth and honesty can prevail. And all of the lies, whether they're white lies, polite lies, or the destructive lies like the media or governments tell us, can no longer hide. Darkness is no longer able to hide. So it's changing everything. The angels have said that life will never be the same after it was with the Venus return of 2012. And what it's calling us to do is to be 100% authentic and in integrity and honest with ourselves, first of all, and then with each other, secondly, and not to worry about trying to control things, if I'm honest with you, but just let the chips fall where they may. So absolutely, it's a new energy. The angels said it's akin to a computer upgrade, that we've all been upgraded, our DNA is being worked on, and many of us are having physical reactions to that because our bodies are changing. But it's really all about putting us in a position of leadership, because there's just this few number of people who are taking advantage of the whole world. They created this recession artificially. They're creating wars artificially with using lies to cover it. And they're keeping us locked on fossil fuels like oil and nuclear power, which are dangerous. And it's time for the people to speak up and say, enough, no, we're not going to take this. This is our world. We want to take it back.
So this is a different year.
Big time. Yeah.
A big time.
What I meant by the video before the interview is that it's not the end of the world in terms of people who are worried about an apocalypse, but it's the end of the old energy, the end of the old ways of living. And so it's a new, as you said, a new dimension, definitely,
Okay.
but in the most positive sense and healthy sense, as long as we take this opportunity for what it is. Right now is the window for people to speak up and make their opinions known and not worry so much about the ego things. This group of people called the selfish ones have tried to sedate our minds with drugs, with getting us all hooked on celebrity gossip instead of real news. And that drugs include caffeine, putting Starbucks on every corner, alcohol. The #1 killer of Americans in North America right now is painkillers. And it's in response to the anxiety from so much caffeine. And so we all need to detox now. I mean, we've got to all get our minds clear and focused. And then we have to speak up and say enough. Here in Montreal at this time, there's students protesting, which I applaud. But what I'm concerned with is that around the world right now, there's the same sort of situation where people are being told you cannot protest. And there's rights being taken away from us all over the place. And we're passively allowing this to occur because we're too busy worried about Kim Kardashian's latest dress size. We have to instead be focused on what's important, and that's the environment and keeping our personal rights intact.
Speaking of
Parlons maintenant du Québec et de Montréal. Est-ce qu'il existe des anges, des archanges ou des intelligences divines particulières qui s'occupent de nations, de groupes de gens ou de pays? Et si oui, quelle serait l'entité divine qui s'occupe du Québec ou éventuellement de Montréal? Et quelle est sa spécificité? Quel serait le message pour les Québécois?
It's true, the angels have been on earth before modern human were here. And the angels are watching over us and our planet, praying that we all listen to our guidance and take the right steps to steer us in the direction of health. As I tune in and ask what angel is watching over Montreal and Quebec, Archangel Gabriel comes through very, very strong, and that's the messenger angel. And this angel is saying that Montreal is the voice of both North America and France, interestingly. And France, of course, has such a deep, strong spiritual connection with changing the world and the whole lineage of talking to angels. So you've got the best of both here with the French and the English. And they're saying that Gabriel will give everyone the courage and the confidence to speak up, and that includes through writing blogs, through speaking up on social media sites, through giving speeches, writing books. And they want everyone in Montreal to know your voice is needed. Please don't feel a lack of confidence.
Well, thank you very much. I think everyone will appreciate that message. And thank you for that interview. It really is supportive.
My pleasure.
Supportive for an independent, the last independent bookstore.
My
in
God.
Montreal.
Well, can I talk about bookstores for a minute?
Sure, let's go.
Okay. So I've been working really hard to keep bookstores open. I donate my time at bookstores and have free events for people to come in. And I've been telling everyone, please, please buy your books at independent bookstores. It ties into the freedom for all of us. The selfish ones are trying to make bookstores be a thing of the past so that they can control and monitor what we're reading through Kindle and online bookstores where they can see who's buying what. The only way to guarantee our intellectual freedom is to go into independent bookstores such as this one and pay cash for books. And we've got to all do that to support the bookstore and to support our freedom.
Thank you very much.